Welcome to BL Stories, where romance, drama, and unforgettable boys' love come to life. Love knows no limits, and the best stories aren't always straight. Subscribe now and join our growing BL-loving family. Christian's POV. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling light fixture. The clock on my nightstand glowed 3:12 a.m. In just a few hours, I would need to be up preparing for the launch, but sleep refused to come. My mind was racing. I thought about my conversation with Alex before he left the office. When he mentioned bridge, that old wave of frustration returned, not at Alex, but at the situation. Every time we were close to having a real talk about us, life seemed to throw another obstacle in the way. Of course, I wanted to make things official with him, but I wanted to do it right. In the past, I'd made countless mistakes in relationships, mostly because I never cared enough. The people I dated weren't really my choices. They were handpicked by my mother, chosen for business compatibility rather than emotional connection. Alex was different. He was the first person I had chosen for myself, and I wanted him to understand how much that meant to me. I had something planned. Something special. We just needed to make it through this launch. Then we'd be on our way to Hawaii. When I told Alex last night that the trip was still on, he looked surprised. But I needed this time with him. No work, no distractions. Just us. I sent him home at 7 p.m. while I stayed late at the office, tying up tasks marketing had overlooked. Alex had seemed worried, seeing how hard everyone was working. I wanted to make sure the launch went smoothly, for him, for the team, and for Ivanov Corp. My thoughts were interrupted by a knock at the bedroom door. "Come in," I called. Nathaniel entered, carrying a cup. "Whiskey on the rocks. I know you didn't request it, but I figured you might need it. Big day ahead." "Sleep matters, sir." He placed the cup on the coaster by my bed. "Thank you, Nathaniel." I smiled. "You always know when I can't sleep. You never sleep well before big events." He chuckled. "Don't forget, I used to change your diapers, Christian. I know you better than you think." His words made me laugh. Nathaniel always had a way of grounding me. "Don't overthink it. Drink, then rest. Whatever happens tomorrow, happens." He ruffled my hair, an old gesture that warmed my chest. "Good night, Christian." "Good night, Nathaniel." The nightcap worked wonders. I finally drifted off around 3:30 a.m., waking only when my alarm blared at 6:30. The deafening sound jolted me upright. Disoriented, it took nearly a full minute to shut the thing off, and I was convinced I'd woken the entire neighborhood. I forced myself through a hot, and then freezing cold, shower before getting dressed. Nathaniel had breakfast ready when I emerged. "Looking sharp, sir," he said with a nod. "Thanks." The event begins just after noon. It'll run about 3 hours, and I'll stay one more hour for the stragglers. Alex and I leave for Hawaii at 10 a.m. tomorrow. I booked a later flight after New York's chaos. After today's event, I'll head to Brad's place for a meeting, then Alex and I will return around 9 tonight. "Can you have everything packed by then?" Nathaniel scribbled notes quickly. "Perfectly doable. Should I have dinner ready for you both tonight?" I paused, stirring my protein bowl. "No need. Brad will likely cook for us. Don't trouble yourself." "No trouble at all," he said with a small grin. Alex's POV. "God, I love that the business is doing well, but if I have to buy another formal suit, I'll go broke." Derek groaned as he fumbled with his tie for the 19th time. "First of all," Joan called from the bathroom, "that neon green suit of yours couldn't have cost more than $20. If it did, you were robbed. Second, you're already broke." I watched Derek clutch his chest dramatically before collapsing onto my bed. "Why must you wound me with such cruel words?" he whined. Joan rolled her eyes as she glued on an eyelash. "Sit up," I ordered. He obeyed, dragging himself to the edge of the bed. Taking his tie, I asked, "Why do you even have a real tie? Don't you usually stick to clip-ons?" "I forgot my clip-on at home, and this was the only one in the car," he rambled. I thought, how hard could it be? But watching you tie yours and actually tying mine? Totally different story. By the time he finished his long explanation, I had already tied it for him. All set, I said. He grinned at his reflection and gave me a dramatic thumbs up. Thank you, good sir. The pleasure's all mine, I replied dryly. You two are ridiculous, Joan laughed. Now come on, time to party. Technically, this is a work event, I reminded her. So please don't embarrass me in front of our distributors. I'm not letting you ruin this, Joan shot back. I've worked too hard not to enjoy the open bar. She wasn't wrong, but still. A few drinks. That's it. Guests will ask questions, and I need you sober enough to answer them. Derek, that goes for you too. Don't glue yourself to the snack table. Who, me? Derek gasped dramatically. Never. That got a laugh from all three of us. When we pulled into Ivanov Corp's parking lot, it was as packed as the night of the gala. Signs directed us to underground parking. A valet met us at the entrance. Joan, Derek, and I climbed out like the Three Musketeers. Before I could say my usual line, the valet smiled and said, "Don't worry, Mr. Hamilton. I'll take good care of her." I recognized him. It was the same valet from the gala. Thank you, I said with a grin before joining Joan and Derek. The signs were in place, the live music echoed beautifully through the halls, and, thankfully, the building wasn't on fire. Everything seemed to be going smoothly. But if I've learned anything, it's that only time would tell. Alex's POV. Oh, keep them coming, my guy. We've got a long night ahead. Joan called to the bartender, her voice raised above the music spilling out from the event hall into the bar. She's joking. I cut in quickly, stepping up beside her. 3 drinks max. That's the limit. The bartender's gaze shifted from Joan to me. I didn't recognize him, which was unusual. We normally hired through the same company and saw familiar faces at each event. Over time, we got to know the staff, and they got to know us and our usual drink orders. It was comforting. But this guy was new. Are you guests or something? He asked flatly, his tone making it sound like he'd rather be anywhere else. No, I said evenly. We work here. 3 drinks maximum. And if you see a shorter man in a neon green suit, don't give him more than 3 either. No exceptions. Got it? His brows pinched. I guess. And I mean it, I pressed. They'll try everything, bribes, tricks, maybe even theft. Stay strong. I glanced at his name tag. Thad. For a second, I almost laughed. The only Thad I'd ever heard of was from an old TV show. Yet here he was, real, alive, and looking at me like I was speaking another language. If I find out they've gotten out of hand, I'll be taking it out on your company's Yelp reviews, I finished. His blank stare was all the answer I got. Good enough. I tugged Joan away from the bar and back toward the main hall. The moment we stepped inside, my eyes immediately landed on Derek. His neon green suit was impossible to miss, especially with him stationed at the snack bar. He alternated between cheese cubes, truffles, and the chocolate fountain like he was running a food marathon. You two are unbelievable, I scolded, narrowing my eyes at both Derek and Joan. This is a work event. Derek, stop stuffing your face. Joan, no overdrinking. I mean it. Derek turned to me mid-bite, his cheeks puffed out like a chipmunk. I rolled my eyes. Derek, you cannot possibly be that hungry. He raised a finger, signaling me to wait as he struggled to chew through his mountain of food. Finally, he swallowed. This is Wyke Farms cheddar, he declared solemnly. It usually sells for about $200 a pound. I'd be crazy not to eat as much as I can while it's here. Don't take this from me, Alex. I won't let you. I sighed at his dramatics. Fine. I'll stash some in the break room fridge for you. Deal? No. Derek shot back immediately. I don't trust anyone. We need a safer place. The way he said it made it sound like we were smuggling gold, not cheese. Still, I relented. All right, I'll lock it in my office and bring it to you when we leave. Happy? His grin said it all. I sent Derek and Joan back out to mingle with guests, though Derek grumbled about how the cheese and wine combo was making him sleepy. I warned him that if I found him napping, I'd drag him back to work myself. That shut him up. Sneaking the cheese was the tricky part. With guests crowding the snack bar, Slipping it into a cloth napkin wasn't easy. Joan blocked one side of me, Derek the other. The operation succeeded, and I made my way upstairs to my office on the 5th floor. The crowd was growing fast, which was a good sign. At least the turnout was strong. I swiped my access card, rode the elevator, and stepped out onto the quiet floor. Waiting for the elevator back down, I froze when the doors opened. Christian. He was dressed in a dark blue suit I hadn't seen before. Perfectly tailored, every detail sharp and precise. A deep red tie added just the right contrast. The vest beneath his jacket emphasized the strength in his frame, and I could feel heat rising in my cheeks just looking at him. In his hand, he held a brown folder. Christian. My smile felt nervous. Alex. He reached out, steadying the elevator door before it could close. Christian's POV. Brad, do you realize how badly you messed up? I hissed into the phone as I climbed 2 flights of stairs. Relax. I just mixed up the main floor fax with your office fax. I can't remember the last time I even used one. It's not the end of the world, Brad shot back. I could hear his car starting in the background. Not the end of the world? I snapped. You sent confidential information about our mother to the main floor fax. If anyone sees it, we're in serious trouble. By the time I reached the 5th floor, I was breathless, silently cursing the ridiculous stairwell. Good afternoon, Mr. Ivanov, one of the janitors greeted as he passed. I nodded, forcing a polite smile before hurrying to the supply room where the fax machine sat. Papers were already waiting in the tray. Brad had been right. I flipped through them. The first was a mugshot. A teenage girl. Despite her age in the photo, I recognized those eyes instantly. My mother's. I didn't have time to process it. Slipping the pages into a large brown folder from the cabinet, I tucked it firmly under my arm. I'd study them later tonight. A thud echoed from nearby. The janitor was emptying the shredding bin, scattering papers across the floor. Sorry, Mr. Ivanov, he rushed out. No worries, I replied calmly, stepping into the elevator. The folder pressed against my side as the car descended. I needed to get this to Brad before the night pulled us in opposite directions. The elevator chimed, the doors opening, and there he was. Familiar hazel eyes meeting mine. Christian's POV. Alex. I gave him a warm smile. His face flushed instantly. He had been very obviously caught admiring me. My outfit for the evening had been meant as a surprise. The suit was a gift from my father, Slav, who'd picked it up during a trip to Europe. I remembered now why my mother had asked for my measurements a few months back. I had assumed it was for one of her infamous family photo shoots. She loved those sessions, dragging Brad and me into them, only to digitally add father later. Mother always claimed the company's investors loved receiving our holiday cards. Personally, I doubted anyone truly cared. The suit had arrived in a neatly packaged box, which Nathaniel delivered. With work consuming my attention, I hadn't even opened it until the morning of the launch. Had I known, I wouldn't have wasted time and money on another suit. This one was far superior. And judging by the way Alex's gaze lingered, I had made the right choice. I packed the other suit for Hawaii instead. Hi, Alex stammered. I was just heading up to the 5th floor to grab something from my office. I held the elevator doors open. Oh, I just came from there. Do you have your access card? No one else should be up there right now. He nodded quickly. Yeah, I brought it. The doors tried to close again. I pressed my hand against them, a little too firmly. Would you like some company? I asked, my tone carrying more weight than casual conversation. Alex chuckled softly at my impatience with the elevator. Sure. He stepped inside, smiling. As he did, I noticed he was holding a small parcel wrapped in a cloth napkin. When he pressed the button for the 5th floor, my curiosity won out. What's in there? I asked. His eyes flicked down to it, then back to me. Before he could answer, though, his attention shifted to the folder I still had tucked firmly under my arm. What's in the envelope? He countered. A grin spread across my face at his clever deflection. Just paperwork for the launch, I lied smoothly. The truth could wait until I'd spoken with Brad. Alex gave me a slow nod. though the look in his eyes told me he wasn't entirely convinced. So, I asked again, pointing at the napkin, "What's in there?" His goofy grin appeared. "Cheese." I blinked. Cheese? Of all things, he was carrying cheese in a napkin. Before I could press further, the elevator dinged, and the doors slid open. The floor looked just as it had minutes earlier, spotless. Even the shred bin that had been a mess before was perfectly cleared. "That was fast," I murmured to myself. Alex asked. "Nothing." I followed him toward his office. He slid his card through the lock and pushed the door open, holding it for me. Inside, his office looked exactly like I remembered, organized chaos. Papers stacked in binders, sticky notes clinging to his monitor, desk edges, even pen holders. Most were IT reminders, judging from the scribbles. I'd considered hiring another IT person, but truthfully, I wanted Alex working directly with me full-time. He pulled a small key from his pocket and unlocked the bottom drawer of his desk. "What do you keep in there?" I asked. "Wouldn't you like to know?" he teased, grinning. When he stood, I froze. In his hands was a laptop. Not just any laptop, my laptop. The one that had been destroyed. "Wait, did you? When?" I stammered, eyes wide. I had almost forgotten about it. Brad had pestered me for weeks about its contents, recreating what he could, but I'd long since assumed it was a lost cause. "I've been working on it during my lunches. Whenever I could find the time," Alex explained. "It's not fully restored yet. I still need to reload some files, but it's close." My hardened composure softened immediately. "You didn't have to do that." "That's not what you said when you first told me to fix it," he countered, though the grin tugging at his lips betrayed him. "Touché," I murmured, stepping closer. Carefully, I reached for the laptop. "Careful," he exclaimed, tightening his hold. "With your giant hands, you'll break it again." I raised a brow at his dramatics. "Relax. I'm just setting it on the desk." I placed it down gently and turned back to him. "Are you excited for Hawaii?" His expression softened. "I'm excited for some vitamin D," he stopped, backtracked quickly. "Not that, I mean sunlight. The weather's been miserable here. Some sunshine will do us both good." I chuckled, lifting a hand to brush a strand of hair back from his forehead. My fingers lingered, tracing to the nape of his neck. He leaned into the touch, lips parting as if he wanted to say something, probably to break the tension with his usual banter. I didn't give him the chance. I leaned in and kissed him. His lips were slightly rough. He had been biting them again. The thought of his stress bothered me. He threw himself into work with relentless energy, thriving under pressure much like I did. But I couldn't help wondering, was Alex trading one unhealthy habit for another? Christian's POV. I walked with Alex back down to the main event after he tucked away his carefully wrapped cheese parcel in his desk. I had questions, many questions. Why had he felt the need to sneak away with expensive cheese when I could have easily bought him some? Still, something told me this wasn't really about Alex at all. It had Derek written all over it. I decided to let the mystery rest until after the event. Not long after, my phone buzzed in my vest pocket. Brad had sent a message. He just pulled into the underground parking. I leaned closer to Alex, lowering my voice. "I need to step out for a bit. I'll be right back," I whispered. He kept his polite smile fixed on the investors he was speaking with, but the flicker of his eyes toward me told me he'd heard. "Sounds good," he whispered back, before turning his full attention back to the two women he was charming. I slipped my phone away and began the nearly impossible task of crossing the room without being pulled into half a dozen conversations. Every 2 steps, someone tapped my arm or stopped me. Surprisingly, I recognized more faces tonight than usual. Normally, they all blurred together and Brad had to whisper names in my ear. But tonight, I actually remembered a few. Alex had been a big help with that. He had a gift for conversation, able to look genuinely interested in even the most tedious small talk. It was a skill I envied. I gave a final greeting to Henry, an old friend of my father who was snapping photos for the event. He pulled me into a quick hug, congratulating me on the turnout. "It was all Alex, honestly," I admitted. Henry raised a brow. "I don't think I've ever heard you not take credit before." This must be the Alex your mother's been talking about. He accepted a glass of champagne from a passing server. For a second, I almost reminded him he was still on the clock, but then I let it go. The event was nearly over anyway. Another vibration rattled my phone. I wrapped up the conversation quickly. I need to meet a few arriving guests, but we'll catch up before the night's done. Henry nodded, then vanished into the crowd. The underground garage was nearly full. Because of the severe weather warning, we tried to fit as many cars inside as possible, even moving company vehicles to make space. Brad's car wasn't hard to spot. Unlike his low-key personality, he had gone for a sleek sports model. His headlights blinked twice as I approached. I rolled my eyes when he unlocked the passenger door for me. "Don't you clean up nicely?" Brad teased as I slid in. "I could say the same for you," I replied, studying his suit. It was burgundy and gray, perfectly tailored. "Please don't tell me you bought another one." "First off," Brad said defensively, "I donated plenty of suits thanks to Joan's influence. So technically, I deserved a new one. But no, this one was a gift from Slav. Same as yours, I assume. Nice, right?" He smoothed the fabric proudly. Father certainly had an eye for these things. "It looks great," I admitted. Another car pulled in nearby. The valet slowed, giving us a strange look before driving on. "What was that about?" I asked. Brad sank lower in his seat. I may or may not have taken a reserved spot. I circled for 10 minutes and gave up. I stared at him. "Who are you, and what have you done with my brother?" He ignored me, brushing it off. "Anyway, let's handle this quickly. Some people are already leaving because of the storm. Afterward, we can wrap up and eat. You and Alex are coming, Joan's coming with me, and Derek." He sighed. "Derek will show up no matter what I do. But I'm prepared this time. All the good liquor is locked away." And I picked up taco fixings. If Derek complains, he can eat salad. I laughed. Brad always acted gruff, but he cared more than he admitted. He glanced at me, more serious now. "All right, let's see it." I pulled the folder from under my arm and handed it to him. He hesitated before opening it. "Have you looked yet?" he asked. I shook my head. "This is our family. I wanted us to see it together. Brad, I love all of you, but you come first here. What matters to you matters to me." It didn't make me feel any better, admitting it aloud. Running a background check on our own mother left a sour taste in my mouth. But with our parents, secrets always seemed endless. We only learned the truth when we uncovered it ourselves. Brad finally opened the folder. His eyes scanned the pages, growing wider with each line. His expression gave me nothing else. No gasp, no words, just shock. My chest tightened. "What is it?" I asked quietly. He swallowed, still staring at the page. "A lot of it is blacked out. But, from what I can tell, Vatic might have been right." I froze. "What are you saying?" Brad looked at me with troubled eyes. "It's not just about what Mother hasn't told us. According to these documents, she lied." Alex's POV. "This was wonderful, Alex. Well done." Henry gave me a firm handshake before heading out into the rain toward his car. "He's a cool guy," I commented to Christian as we watched him go. "Definitely," Christian agreed. "He's known my father for years. He's been helping with event photography since the beginning of the company." His eyes turned toward me, softening. "I'm just glad tonight was a success. You did an incredible job, Alex." Heat rose to my cheeks under his gaze. He was giving me that look, the kind that made me wish we were alone. But before either of us could say more, Derek suddenly crashed into us from behind, nearly knocking us both off balance. "All right, kids," Derek exclaimed, slapping his hands on our shoulders. "I heard it's a party at Brad's tonight." Christian's expression tightened, but he tolerated it, for my sake. So, the 5 of us, Brad, Joan, Derek, Christian, and I, headed to Brad's place. We didn't stay long since Christian and I had an early flight. Besides, Christian's exhaustion was obvious. He kept rubbing his eyes and at one point even dozed off against me while we were catching up with the others. Brad's patience ran out when he served tacos, something he'd actually prepared with Derek in mind, only for Derek to push the plate away. "I'm full," Derek announced. Brad's eye twitched. So, you're telling me I went through all this trouble to make something you'd actually eat, and now you're full? It's not my fault. Derek protested. Joan cut in immediately. You spent the afternoon treating the snack bar like a personal buffet, Derek. This one's on you. Christian and I laughed as Derek sulked. Meanwhile, I happily polished off more than my share of tacos. When we finally returned to Christian's, it was close to 10. Nathaniel greeted us briefly before I coaxed Christian away from the couch he was eyeing longingly and into his bedroom. He stripped down to his undershirt and shorts, tossing clothes wherever they fell, while I gathered them up behind him. I would have liked more time with him, but I didn't complain when he pulled back the duvet and wrapped me in his arms. His cologne carried a warm, spiced scent, and I buried my face against his chest. "Good night, baby," he murmured, already half asleep. "Good night," I whispered back, my voice muffled by his embrace. Christian's POV. "Good morning, handsome," I whispered as Alex stirred awake. My 8 a.m. alarm had roused him, though I'd already been up for a while. Years of early mornings had trained me too well. I don't understand how you can look half dead the night before, then wake up so full of energy, Alex groaned, rolling over to face me. He had pillow creases on his cheek and a sleepy rasp in his voice, details that only made him more endearing. But there was no time to linger. I'd set the alarm as late as possible. "Come on," I urged. "We've got to move." Fortunately, everything was already packed. Nathaniel had breakfast waiting downstairs, and we ate quickly before heading out. "Are you excited for the trip?" Nathaniel asked Alex. "Definitely," Alex said between bites. "I've never been anywhere tropical before." Nathaniel's smile widened as he glanced at me. "I'm sure this one will make it extra special." Alex flushed crimson, while I just grinned. Nathaniel didn't know all the details, but he knew I'd made special arrangements. Now, I only needed to get Alex on that island. The later flight turned out to be the right choice. By the time we boarded, we were awake, fed, and ready. Alex pressed his face to the airplane window like a kid, exclaiming at the view. "This is so pretty," he said, grinning ear to ear. Flying first class was a luxury I appreciated, especially since Alex could hardly sit still. One minute he needed water, the next a blanket, then a trip down the aisle. I chuckled at his excitement. "Just wait until you see it in person," I said. He shot me a crooked grin before turning back to admire the coastline below. The flight lasted nearly 10 hours. I spent most of it finishing work, while Alex listened to music. Eventually, we swapped so he could catch up too. When we landed in Hawaii, it was mid-afternoon local time, though our bodies felt the weight of an 8 p.m. arrival. Alex looked exhausted. He hadn't slept much on the plane, but still lit up at the sight of the island. "This is gorgeous," he said sleepily as we carried our bags to the rental car Nathaniel had arranged. The sun was warm, the breeze cooling, and Alex had been right to suggest shorts. I wore a polo and golf shorts. Alex, however, was dressed in a bold Hawaiian shirt, patterned pants, and oversized shades. He was proud of the outfit, so I kept my opinion to myself. What I hadn't told him was who would be greeting us. Alex froze when we pulled up to the villa resort and saw John waiting outside. "Christian." "Alex." John greeted warmly, hugging us both. "Welcome to Hawaii." Alex flushed, tugging at his shirt. "If I'd known we'd see you right away, I'd have worn something more professional." I bit back a laugh. He was impossibly adorable. "Nonsense," John said cheerfully. "The brighter, the better. Now come on, let me show you around." The resort was stunning. Marble floors, towering plants, even a tree that stretched up through 3 levels. John explained the VIP access system as he led us to our suite on the 3rd floor. When we stepped inside, both our jaws dropped. The balcony opened to a breathtaking ocean view. A king-sized bed was decorated with rose petals and swan-shaped towels. A massive screen hung opposite the bed, and the open shower gleamed on the far side. "This is incredible, John." "Thank you," I said, watching Alex wander in awe. "My pleasure," John replied. "Settle in, rest, and I'll be in the business center if you need me." After another hug, he left us to our room. "This is amazing," Alex mumbled into the bed, already half asleep under the covers. I smiled, brushing a hand through his hair. Rest up. We'll explore in a few hours. I kissed his forehead. Good night, he whispered, burrowing deeper into the blankets. Christian's POV. Well, if it isn't the man of the hour. John beamed as I took a seat across from him. He had claimed a quiet corner of the resort's business center, which was surprisingly elegant compared to most I'd seen. Even the workstations here had been designed with attention to detail. John was wrestling with one of the public printers, which beeped in protest as if mocking him. With a sigh, he handed me a manila folder full of paperwork just as I settled into the chair. What do you mean? I asked, circling back to his earlier comment. The launch yesterday was more than just a success. My team just sent projections for sales and investments, and I have to say, I'm pleasantly surprised. Honestly, I half expected you to bankrupt me. He smirked, lifting his coffee cup for a sip. Good to know you have such confidence in me, I replied dryly, stealing his mug for a taste. The coffee looked rich, but the second it hit my tongue I nearly gagged and set it back down. This is terrible, I declared. John, what is this supposed to be? He tried not to laugh. It's organic coffee, apparently good for you. Good for me? I gave him a look of pure disbelief. This tastes like something meant for the garden, not a human being. He shook his head. And to think I was about to praise you for all your hard work. Work first, I said, pushing the cup back toward him. Coffee later. Or better yet, never. That finally broke his composure, and he laughed. He tapped the folder I'd set aside. Back to business. These numbers look incredible. Kudos to you and Alex for pulling this together so quickly. It really showed our investors what both companies are capable of. As I flipped to the partnership section, a smile crept across my face. Alex's name was listed prominently throughout the documents. I wanted to give credit where it was due, John explained, noticing my reaction. That's great. Alex will be thrilled. I signed at the bottom of the page and slid it back to him. Speaking of Alex, John wiggled his eyebrows in a way that made me roll my eyes. When you booked such an expensive suite, I couldn't help but be curious. From what I've gathered from the staff, you've made some very special requests. Sounds like someone turned a work trip into a romantic getaway. I chuckled. Of course he'd pry. Alex has been working harder than ever these past months. He hasn't touched a drink since New York, and I just wanted to give him something to look forward to. This trip is about showing him there are good things that come with the work. John leaned back, smiling thoughtfully. I've known you for years, Christian, and I never would have guessed this side of you. Honestly, I thought you might never settle on anyone. But clearly, Alex has changed something in you. His words drew a genuine laugh from me. John was one of the few people who had seen my reckless college years up close, back when my life revolved around parties and excess. Those days ended quickly once I took over the company. My mother had made it clear, I was now the face of the business, and my choices carried consequences for our entire family. Since then, my relationships had been shaped by her approval, not my own heart. Honestly, I admitted, I don't know what label fits me anymore. I've never felt for anyone what I feel for Alex. I can't explain it, but I know it's real. John nodded, expression softening. That's all that matters. He clearly means a lot to you, and I don't think I've ever seen you like this. I'm happy for you. He gave my hand a quick pat across the table, flashing me a warm grin. I smirked. And what exactly was wrong with me before? Plenty, he teased. But that's not the point. We both laughed as he handed me fresh copies from the printer. I slipped them into my briefcase and zipped it closed. So, John said, standing, you've got today, tomorrow, and Friday to enjoy yourselves. I'll be around the island if you need me. Once you're rested, let's plan breakfast tomorrow morning. Sound good? That sounds perfect. I rose with him, extending my hand. He ignored it and pulled me into a quick hug instead. Think of this as a sign-up bonus, he said with a wink as we left the business center together. Alex's POV. I didn't even remember falling asleep. One moment, I was enjoying the soft cotton sheets against my skin, and the next I was waking up in a room lit with candles, a gentle melody playing in the background. Was this a dream? For a split second, my half-asleep brain wondered if I'd stumbled into some kind of movie scene. I rubbed my eyes, trying to adjust. On the pillow beside me sat a folded card. On the front, in Christian's unmistakable handwriting, were 2 words: "Read me." I reached for it and opened the note. "Hi, handsome. Hopefully you rested well. As you can see, the room looks a little different. I'd like you to join me for dinner tonight. Help yourself to the soaps and scrubs I had prepared for you. They're in the bathroom. Afterward, I've chosen an outfit for you. It's waiting in the box at the foot of the bed. When you're ready, one of the hotel staff will guide you to me. Hope to see you soon, Christian." I blinked several times, making sure I wasn't imagining it. Sure enough, there was a neatly wrapped box at the foot of the bed with a tag that read "Wear Me." Across the room, in the bathroom, a large basket filled with luxury soaps and scrubs sat on the counter, a small card on it that read "Use Me." Dragging myself out of bed, I picked up one of the bottles. Oceanic Mist. Fitting for where we were. I set it in the shower and freshened up. The outfit Christian picked was simple but elegant, a crisp white linen shirt and tailored black dress shorts. Comfortable, breathable, and far nicer than anything I'd have chosen for myself. I caught my reflection in the fogged bathroom mirror, gave myself a playful wink, and immediately cringed at how ridiculous it looked. "Never again," I muttered. After a final glance in the mirror, I slipped the key card into my pocket and left the room. Waiting right outside was a smiling hotel associate. "Good evening, Mr. Hamilton. I hope Mr. Ivanov's gifts suited you well. I've been instructed to escort you." I followed him through twisting hallways until we reached a set of glass doors that led outside. The sun had just set, but the last rays of light still painted the sky. Through the doors, I saw a small balcony with only 4 tables. Reserved, intimate, and sitting at one of them was Christian. He looked up from a newspaper as I stepped onto the balcony. He wore a button-down shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows, revealing the tattoos I always tried not to stare at, but failed miserably. His hair was styled perfectly, still damp from a shower. "Hi," I croaked, my throat suddenly dry. Christian rose to his feet. "Hello there," he replied, his voice warm. "You look incredible." His hands slipped gently around my waist as the glass doors closed behind me, leaving us alone. "Thank you," I stammered. My words tumbled over themselves. "Ooh, you look wow." Christian chuckled, dipping down to press his lips to mine. The kiss was soft but charged, and I leaned into it, my heart racing. When he finally pulled back, he whispered, "Dinner first." He led me to the table, his hand brushing against mine until our fingers intertwined. "What is this place?" I asked, looking around as I sat down. "One of the resort's private dining areas. I reserved it just for us," Christian explained. The ocean stretched out before us, waves glimmering under moonlight. The breeze was gentle, cool against my skin. Christian reached across the table and took my hand fully in his. The gesture was simple, but my pulse quickened. "I wanted time with just you," he said quietly. "No work, no distractions, no family complications. I want to know where you're at, with everything. I know I've dragged you through a lot these last few months." I gave him a small smile. I'd say it was a 50-50 effort. "And honestly, you're not a bad partner to handle chaos with." That made him laugh, and he squeezed my hand tighter. "I'm glad to hear that," he said, "because this is all new territory for me. Being with you, it's not something I ever expected, but it's something I want to keep building. My life doesn't really allow for privacy, and I don't want to pressure you into anything you're not ready for. I want you to have the choice." "Choose?" I started, confused by where his sentence was going. "Choose what?" But before he could finish, a loud crash echoed behind us. "Ouch," came a familiar groan. We both turned. There, sprawled on the ground behind us, was Derek. Thanks for listening to today's BL story. If it made your heart skip a beat, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Only here on BL Stories, where love knows no limits.